Well, the U.S. is on the hunt for a new speaker after Representative McCarthy was ousted in a historic vote on Tuesday evening. Steve Scalise of Louisiana and Jim Jordan of Ohio are currently the leading contenders. I mean, we have quite a few names in the hat here. Obviously, we have the temporary House Speaker for the moment in terms of Patrick McHenry. Now, he was also one of the ones who was one of the negotiators who helped negotiate the debt ceiling. So people could be wondering, is this going to be more of the same if they back McHenry here? So as we try and navigate this space, a lot of people wondering, does this increase the likelihood of a government shutdown if we do have a House in disarray? Or perhaps this is happening early enough that perhaps they might be able to get a contender and have perhaps a clear voice when they do head towards that November 17th deadline.
Yeah, Rochelle, I mean, as of now, we're not expecting a lot of movement going into next week. Tuesday is the day we're looking at in terms of the next marker here for Republicans to potentially meet behind closed doors, maybe decide on who they want to put forward as the next House Speaker, and then a potential vote coming up on Wednesday. But really, there is need for some expediency because of that very point you made, Rochelle. You know, from a market's perspective, it really is about that November 17th deadline we're looking at right now. Remember, everything that preceded Kevin McCarthy being ousted was about that stopgap measure that would allow the government to continue being funded through November 17th. The longer this takes in terms of deciding on who that next House Speaker is, that means essentially that the House is unlikely to take additional action on bills to fund the government. And that's the key question here is, will they be able to get to that November 17th deadline to have a longer term funding bill in place there? But right now, things very much up in the air.
It's true. And I mean, one of the names being thrown around, former President Donald Trump. We've seen that Marjorie Taylor Greene, Troy Nehls, they're also saying that they're supporting Trump. Though interesting that Troy Nehls, he didn't vote to oust McCarthy. So something of the allegiances here coming into play. But you don't have to be a member of Congress to take the speaker's seat. But this would be the first time, if this is a name that ends up coming forward, that someone who wasn't a member of Congress took the speaker's seat. And as we mentioned there, it raises the threat of a shutdown, but also speaks to governance and how much consistency we can expect. If Trump now comes into the fray, obviously a lot of people expecting the harder right members of the GOP to get some of their policies pushed through, which will essentially be dead on arrival for Democrats here.
Well, and we should point out the former president has said he's not really interested in taking on that. He's got a bigger eye here on the prize in terms of becoming or for the 2024 election. But, you know, we're learning a lot about the Constitution, right? As we look through what has been a historic 24 hours or so. We should point out our very own Jen Schomburger is going to be speaking with Senator Elizabeth Warren in an exclusive conversation that's coming up at 11:15 a.m. Eastern. Certainly going to be interesting to hear what she has to say about what's playing out right now on the Hill.